Tori sat nestled in green hills, its cozy home surrounded by quiet. Here, Lo was already training hard, swinging his sword to chop through heavy logs. At 16, he finished splitting wood with a cheerful grin. A local called out for a favor, and Lo readily agreed. Then, chaos. Yuna came flying in, literally covered in flames, sending townsfolk tumbling with her entrance. Also 16, she fiercely defended Lo, telling people to stop using him for everything. When some villagers grumbled, she shouted back that Lo's passive nature was just who he was. She grabbed and shook him hard, upset that he let others take advantage of his kindness. Eventually, Yuna cooled down. She knew Lo meant well. But then her face lit up with a sudden thought. She leaned in close and whispered an exciting idea. "Do you want to leave the village?" Just then, an old woman appeared out of nowhere, pitchfork in hand, shouting sternly, but they weren't allowed to go outside. The villagers quickly held Yuna back as she raged, and one of them even suggested locking her up again. Still, the same villager asked Lo for help, and Lo, without hesitation, agreed. Yuna looked disheartened. "We're the only ones our age here," she said sadly. "I don't want us to grow apart." The villager gently told Lo that it was okay to rest and to want something for himself. But Lo only responded, "No, I'll help." The man was taken aback. He remembered how, after Lo's parents died, the village had looked after him like family. Lo recalled it too. "They've always been there for me. I want to return the favor," he said. A villager broke down in tears and offered Lo a home of his own. Lo smiled warmly, but declined. "I love this village and everyone in it," he said quietly. "They matter more to me than the outside world ever could." Meanwhile, Yuna was locked inside a wooden cage. The old woman scolded her, saying she should try to be more like Lo, who always did the right thing. Yuna, upset, asked why they were always kept inside. "Grandma, why can't we ever leave the village?" she pleaded. An older man added, "The world out there is huge, so why are we trapped here?" The old woman replied grimly, "Because we're people who are hated." Yuna's eyes widened. "Hated by who?" she asked in disbelief. "You don't need to know," the old woman said softly. "Time will sort it out." Elsewhere, Lo was pulling water from the well. "All right, that's done," he sighed. Suddenly, a small rock bounced off his head. He looked back to find Yuna crouching behind a boulder, finger to her lips in mischief. She gave him a playful look and beckoned him over. She proudly said that escaping the cage had gotten easy with all her practice. "Come with me, Lo," she said. Lo hesitated. "Grandma will be really mad if we go outside again." But Yuna's eyes sparkled. "I want to show you something." She led Lo through the forest, dappled with sunlight. At last, she pointed ahead. "Right here!" Lo's eyes widened in awe. Before them stretched a breathtaking view, a vast, sunlit valley with a river glittering through its center. Yuna raised her arm, voice full of joy. "Look, Lo, this is the outside world!" Lo stared in silent wonder, a soft, "oh," escaping his lips as leaves floated by. Then he smiled, his face glowing with pure amazement. Yuna watched Lo's wide-eyed joy with a soft, knowing smile. Then, pulling out a book, she asked with excitement, "Hey, do you know the rules of the outside world?" She revealed she'd secretly gotten the book from a traveling merchant. The book described something called the ranking system, a structure that governed everything out there. As she spoke, images flashed of adventurers, doctors, and other professionals, each glowing with a distinct aura. "There are all kinds of rankings," Yuna explained, "and those who make it to the list are called rankers. Not just people, weapons, food, strength, money, everything got ranked. It was a world where everyone was constantly competing for status." Lo quietly reflected. So the outside world had its own rules too. Yuna beamed with excitement and asked, "Doesn't it sound fun?" Then, with a fiery gaze, she declared, "I'm going to be a ranked adventurer." Her dream was to travel, take on rivals, become someone cool, someone admired. Lo reminded her that they weren't allowed to leave. But Yuna raised her voice defiantly. "I've already decided I'm going." She reached out a hand to him. Her determined voice hung in the air. "Come with me, Lo." With a bright, unstoppable smile, she said, "Let's go on an adventure." "You have to see the world, Lo," she insisted, leaving him frozen with surprise. Yuna then brought up a childhood memory. "Remember when we were 5 and that giant bird attacked me?" A flashback showed a young Lo facing a monstrous bird, strange green energy burning around him. Yuna, teary-eyed, said, "You saved me." The young Lo's fierce, protective expression flickered back in memory. Lo barely remembered. "That happened?" Yuna said, smiling. "Even if you space out all the time, when you really focus, you're stronger than anyone." Lo stared, caught off guard. Yuna stepped in closer. "You'll shine even more outside this village. Come with me. Let's explore the world." She dashed forward with overflowing joy, calling him to follow along the sun-drenched forest trail. Lo looked down. Her words moved him, but still. "Thanks, Yuna," he said softly. "But even so..." Then, raising his gaze, he added with a gentle smile, "I just love this village too much to leave." Yuna fumed, grabbing a stick and whacking him with it. "Ah, you stupid idiot!" she shouted in frustration. "Fine, I'll go back on my own." Lo called after her, "Take care." But inside, something stirred. Leaving the village, he thought. I've never really considered it before. As birds flew overhead, Lo stood at the cliff's edge, staring into the vast open world. The sky turned from bright blue to glowing orange as sunset fell. He sat quietly, lost in thought, as dust floated in the golden light. The day passed him by. Finally, he murmured, "Guess I'll head back." He stood slowly, boots kicking up dirt as he began to walk. But then, something stopped him. He looked up. His expression shifted. He muttered. Above, something massive floated through the burning sky. A gigantic rocky island drifting silently. Lo's eyes widened in disbelief. What is that?
The floating island's base shimmered with an eerie, crackling blue energy, glowing like a crystal core. A pulse of energy swirled underneath, forming a vortex. Then, boom! A colossal beam of pure blue light exploded downward from the island's heart. "Whoa!" Lo shouted as the shockwave blasted him backwards, flinging him through the trees. He crashed onto the forest floor, coughing, scraped up, and stunned. He looked up again, eyes wide. What just happened? Scrambling to his feet, Lo searched the sky. It's gone. The floating island had vanished. Nothing was there. But terror clutched his chest. Panic rising, he muttered to himself, "It's fine. Nothing happened. It's fine." But he wasn't convinced. He sprinted full speed through the forest. Yuna, Grandma, everyone. His mind raced as fast as his feet. When he reached the village outskirts, he froze. Gone. In the village's place was a massive, smoking crater. Lo stood at the edge, trembling. What is this? He stumbled forward, dust blowing around his boots. Just inches away, the land dropped into the void of destruction. His home vanished. Lo's voice cracked with desperation. "Yuna, Grandma, is anyone still here?" The silence answered him back. A memory stirred. Yuna's young voice once said gently, "It's okay, Lo. I'll always stay by your side." Another memory followed, the warm voices of the villagers. "You're not alone now. From today, we're your family." Tears poured from Lo's wide, horrified eyes as the crushing truth overwhelmed him. His legs gave out. He dropped to his knees, a raw, anguished scream echoing across the empty wasteland. "Why? What happened?" he cried, fists trembling. "Damn it, I was too late. Again." He grit his teeth, eyes on the setting sun. All I could do was watch it go down. Then, tap, tap. Footsteps approached. A stern man stood atop the crater, gazing down at the grieving boy. Lo looked up, startled. The man slowly climbed down the crater slope and approached. "Are you a survivor from Tully Village?" he asked. Lo, still shaking, nodded. Yeah." The man's sharp eyes softened slightly. "That must be hard," he said quietly. "But don't worry, that island, it's gone now." Lo stared at him, confused. "You knew about it? That thing from earlier?" Suddenly frantic, Lo grabbed the man's collar. "Then tell me, what happened to the village, to the people?" Tears streamed down Lo's face. "What does that even mean?" The man didn't answer directly. His eyes glowed, a deep, intense red. Sweat formed on his brow. Without a word, he handed Lo a piece of paper inscribed with mysterious symbols. He said quietly, "Forget this place." On the paper were the words, "Look at the situation. Answer me." Lo broke, screaming, "The whole village is gone!" The man gave a grave warning. "This world, it's far too dangerous for you." He crouched beside Lo and gently said, "Let it go. Forget the past." Then he stood up and began walking away. "That's all you can do now." He added with one last plea, "Please, don't dig any deeper. Don't turn into just another casualty." Lo looked down. A quiet murmur left his lips. "No, I already knew." A voice echoed in his memory. "Even if you're always zoning out?" A glowing green tear rolled down his cheek. "When you give it your all, you're stronger than anyone."
The energy around Lo sparked, bright, vibrant, alive. The man turned sharply, shocked. A green aura blazed around Lo, flaring brighter with every second. Close up, the man's red eyes narrowed. He was stunned. That energy. Lo's face was wet with tears, but his jaw clenched with renewed resolve. How could I ever forget? Then a memory, old but sharp. I'll go to that island, and I'll bring everyone back, no matter what. That voice belonged to a younger Lo. He stood amidst wreckage, innocent and terrified. A flashback, his parents lost to a landslide, a small boy huddled in darkness. A gentle hand rested on his head. I was alone, he recalled softly. Then, kind villagers, Yuna, their smiling faces, people who accepted him, who couldn't look away from someone in pain. The swirling green aura pulsed stronger. Thank you, he whispered to them all. Back in the present, Lo stood, radiant with power. Facing the man, he declared, I'm going to that island. Tears streamed down his cheeks. No matter what it takes, I'll bring everyone back. The man's eyes widened. Impossible. That amount of prana. Lo's green energy surged outward, exploding in all directions. The air bent around him, warped by the intensity of his aura. A narration echoed through the scene. Prana, the energy of life. Every living being possesses it, but only a few can wield it intentionally. Most prana remains invisible, but powerful prana, like Lo's, manifests in the world, shattering the very earth beneath. Images flashed, ancient races, each with their own unique prana, mysterious masked figures cloaked in secrecy, their powers unknown. Some races, perhaps even Lo's own, held forms of prana unlike any other. The stern man muttered, almost to himself, So, this is the survivor of Babel. A truth began to unfold. He stared at Lo with disbelief. He was destined to awaken, he whispered, and yet he doesn't even know the full weight of what he carries. A brilliant sword spun through the sky, slicing cleanly through the dense prana-filled air. Lo stood his ground, green aura blazing around him as the massive blade crashed into the ground before his feet. The man stood firm, issuing a bold challenge. If you really want to go to that island, he said, then pick up the sword. His eyes narrowed with intent. If I see any potential, I'll train you. Still glowing with swirling green prana, Lo looked stunned at the offer. But slowly, he reached out and gripped the sword's enormous hilt with both hands. The man's own red aura flared to life as he drew his blade. Come at me, he commanded, with the intent to kill.
The clash began, green and red energies colliding violently. Lo charged, sword trailing green light as he leapt and brought it down in a powerful arc. The man easily blocked the strike, noting to himself, "Just as I thought, he's a beginner." Their swords locked, blades grinding with tension. Sparks flew. But the weight behind Lo's strike pushed forward with a pressure that made the man flinch. Surprised, he gritted his teeth. Still, this pressure. Lo growled, his eyes glowing, pushing harder. These waves of prana, the man thought, they're unreal. He stared, shocked. This kid. Lo, jaw clenched, radiated more power. A massive blast of green prana surged out from him, knocking the man back. Scene shift. An ominous title appeared, Island of the Gods. Later, the two sat together. The man spoke calmly now. "That's what it's called," he said, referring to the floating island. He described it as a majestic sky isle that erased everything it touched. I tried to stop it, but I was too late. Again.
He offered a theory. Those engulfed by the light might have ended up on the Island of the Gods. So, if I touch the light, I'll go there? It's just a theory. Still burning with determination, Lo asked, "Then what should I do?" The man pointed out the first step. "You need to reach the top 10 in the adventure ranking." Lo repeated the words softly. Adventure ranking. The man explained further. The job of an adventurer was to explore uncharted lands, but the top-ranked adventurers, he warned, were monsters. They guarded powerful secrets and access to legendary places. With the sun setting behind him, the man said, "If you can rank in the top 10, then you'll get to that island." Lo clenched his fist. A new goal was forming. The man added grimly, "That island, it's never once been ranked. It's always been a danger zone." He looked at Lo. "Do you still want to go?" Lo lifted his head. His eyes burned with conviction. "All right," the man said. "From this moment on, I'll train you for a year." Lo's jaw dropped. "A year?" "I can only teach you swordsmanship," the man clarified. "But after a year, use me as a stepping stone. Get into the top 10 yourself." He held out his hand and smiled. "Name's Adol. Nobody ranked me in the knight class because I'm the strongest knight in the world." Adol raised an eyebrow. "And you?" Lo stood straight. "Lo." The two shook hands under the fading light. Adol smirked. "Lo, I won't go easy on you." His grin widened. "You're the first person to ever," he paused, "knock me back even once." The screen flashed with dark energy and a chilling phrase. "A hellish year begins." Lo trained endlessly in the dense forest, dodging Adol's relentless attacks. Blisters tore open on both hands and feet. Muscles ripped. He fought Adol by day and monstrous river beasts by night. Bones shattered. Blood poured. Adol never spoke a word about the island. Lo was left to either figure it out or give up. But Lo never quit. His village, their memory, was his anchor. Fueled by that hope, he kept pushing, fighting Adol again and again. Injured and exhausted, Lo wondered what had really happened to Tully Village, what secrets the Island of the Gods held. He swore, "I'll beat the adventure score. I'll uncover the truth myself." His eyes burned like fire. His blade cut faster than ever. 1 year passed. Lo and Adol stood side by side, overlooking a vast new world. Lo, now stronger, was ready for his second season. Adol asked, "So, you're ready?" Lo nodded. "Yeah, I am." "I've been ready for a long time," Lo said, his sharp, steady eyes saying everything. His gaze narrowed as a memory surfaced, Yuna's excited voice echoing in his mind. "I want to become a ranked explorer. Lo, come with me." He could still hear her cheerful voice. "Let's go do something amazing." Lo thought to himself, Yuna, who used to dream of the world outside, wasn't here anymore. Now it was his turn to take that journey.
His eyes grew more determined. For now, I'll carry Yuna's dream. Adol turned, saying, "Let's go, Lo." Lo, walking close behind, answered simply, "Yeah." Now 17, Lo looked taller and stronger. With fresh determination, he began his journey to reach the island of the gods.
As their journey began, a map appeared showing the kingdom of Valtarar, including the distant village of Tori. Their destination, the bustling capital city, Trakista. At the Trakista branch of the appraisal office, the building looked massive. Inside, a young man named Luke was sleeping at a desk full of open books. Someone called out to him. A close-up showed Luke's sleepy face as the voice reminded him, "Luke, it's almost time." Panicking, Luke sat up. Crack! I fell asleep again. A woman in glasses asked if he had been up all night checking ranks again. Luke replied, "I'm an appraiser, after all." She told him to take better care of himself. After all, he was in charge of evaluating others. A shining golden crown badge caught the eye, the symbol of an official appraiser. Text explained that appraisers are sent around the world to judge ranker skills and update the rankings. They need deep knowledge, fairness, and must pass several tests themselves. Only the best are trusted with the job. Luke admitted, "Even if I'm an appraiser, I'm still in the lowest tier." But he swore to climb up. When asked what he was aiming for, Luke said excitedly, "A bunch of things." He explained the fastest way to get promoted was to become an exclusive appraiser for a high-level ranker. The woman teased him about being picky, but Luke replied, "Most rankers these days are boring." He complained that ranking battles used to be much more intense, unlike the fixed top spots now. With determination in his voice, he said, "Rankings only matter when they keep changing." The woman called him a ranking nerd. Luke grinned, "That's right." He wondered aloud if a new star would appear and shake up the whole system. The woman pointed toward a hall full of adventurers. Maybe that new star's already here. Holding some papers, Luke asked, "Is it always this crowded for the adventurer ranking test?" His colleague replied that it probably got packed because Zaban Forest was just added to the danger zone list. As she looked over the crowd, she pointed out some standout participants. She introduced Al Darkus, ranked 753 in mercenaries and a top rookie squad leader. Next was Eddie Markman, an archer ranked 102 and a prodigy from a famous archery family. As she gestured to another, Luke chimed in, "That one's a merchant ranker, right?" Luke continued identifying others, a knight ranker, a sailor ranker, even a guide ranker. The woman confirmed, impressed. Luke proudly said, "I am an appraiser." He explained the adventurer ranking's popularity. People needed it to enter high-risk zones. Just then, a cloaked figure with a sword walked up and rang the bell at the counter. Luke's colleague, holding a book, greeted the person. "Please wait a moment." Lo stepped forward and asked, "Is this where you sign up for the ranking exam?" She confirmed, "Yes, it is." She explained that appraisers handle grading, but first-time registration must happen at an official bureau. Lo said, "I'd like to apply for the adventurer ranking." She told him the test would begin soon. Lo said he would take it. She handed him a form. The exam fee is 3,000 mil. Lo pulled out his money and paid right away. The staffer then directed him, "Please wait in that room over there." "Your candidate number is 53, the staff member said. As Lo turned away from the counter, Luke stared at him closely, a curious blush rising to his cheeks. Then Luke commented to his colleague, "There are still bumpkins who don't even know what the appraisal bureau is." His coworker asked him to help set up the exam, and Luke agreed while walking off, saying, "Desk work makes a nice change." Inside a large hall, the woman announced loudly, "We'll now begin the Adventure Ranking Registration Exam." Smiling, she explained, "There are 3 parts, written, practical, and a final one that will be revealed later." Luke, now helping out, told the test takers that their overall score would decide everything, so they shouldn't give up halfway. The written exam started. Candidates sat bent over their desks, focused hard on their papers. One adventurer was sweating nervously, finding the test way too hard and the topics too broad. The proctor quietly observed them all as they struggled to keep up with the tough questions. Once the written section ended, she said the practical test would happen in 2 hours at the forest nearby. Then she turned to Luke and called out, "Luke, help me with the grading." Luke smiled and said, "Sure." Now, both Luke and his colleague were buried in piles of exam sheets working hard to grade everything. As Luke looked at one test, his eyes slowly widened in surprise. It belonged to candidate number 53, the quiet guy with that dull expression from earlier. His cheeks turned a little red as he realized something. Luke was stunned. Every single answer on the paper was wrong. He groaned and said, "You should try grading something this awful sometime, country bumpkin." Later, the woman stood up and announced the practical test rules. It was a treasure hunt in the forest nearby. She said they had to collect listed items to earn points. Each item had its own score. Fighting was not allowed. Some participants started showing off. One bragged he was good with herbs. Another claims to be skilled at catching bugs. Suddenly, the test started, and all the candidates rushed into the woods in a frenzy. Watching them go, Luke sighed and told his colleague, "Finally, we get a break." She wondered how many would pass, and Luke guessed maybe half. She pointed out how there were a lot of strong ones this time and asked Luke if anyone had caught his attention. Luke sighed again and said, "No one special again this time." Just then, Lo walked up to the results board and asked, "Am I the first to finish?" He proudly showed a shiny rock. "Rigel ore, that's 120 points, right?" The woman asked him if he wanted to stop, even though there was still time left. Lo replied, "Yeah, I already passed, didn't I?" She explained that more points meant a better starting rank, but Lo said becoming a mercenary was more important to him. At that moment, Eddie Markman, the young archer, came running in, yelling, "What?" Eddie showed off his item, a float bird's tail feather worth 180 points. "We eat these all the time at home," he said. Lo chuckled and said, "Huh?" Eddie went on, bragging, "They fly silently at 500 kilometers per hour." Lo smirked and teased, "You'd look better wearing a clown suit." Challenged, Eddie said, "Want to test that?" Luke's colleague, watching them, said, "Rankers really are full of pride." Luke replied confidently, "That's exactly what makes them rankers." Suddenly, Luke turned with a surprised, "Huh?" as a loud noise approached. Lo, Eddie, and the woman turned too. They saw someone dragging a huge animal out of the forest. It was candidate number 53. He casually dropped the massive red grizzly corpse right in front of the stunned judges and participants. "I didn't know how to extract a red grizzly's gallbladder, so I brought the whole thing," he said. "Can I just submit it like this?" Everyone stared in shock at the huge beast. Finally, the woman said, "Red grizzly gallbladder, 300 points." People around them whispered, "He killed a red grizzly on his own." Luke muttered, "No way." He turned back to number 53 and asked, "You could tell it was a red grizzly, even though your written test was awful?" Number 53 replied calmly, "Red grizzlies show up in my village a lot." A young adventurer, Eddie, turned to someone nearby, wide-eyed. "Did you see him fight?" The big guy next to him nodded. "Yeah, I saw it happen right in front of me." Still trying to process what he saw, the man added with awe, "But honestly, I can't say I saw it. It was too fast." Then a flashback appeared, showing candidate 53 facing the huge bear as it charged. He raised his sword. In a split second, a flash of green light, and the red grizzly was already falling, cleanly sliced in half. Eddie stared at number 53, completely stunned. The scene shifted 1 hour later. Inside an underground training arena, the staff member addressed the remaining candidates. "Everyone," she said, "do you know who adventurers need to be most careful of?" She pointed and answered, "That would be both beasts and humans." An image showed adventurers traveling across rough, empty terrain. She explained that their jobs often take them to dangerous and remote areas where they might run into bandits or pirates, so being strong is essential. For that reason, she continued, the final test will be a mock battle.
She told them it would be a simulation to check their real skills. Number 53 quickly realized this secrecy had prevented anyone from sabotaging the test in advance. Suddenly, a big muscular candidate sneered and pointed at number 53. "Hey, you're fighting me," he said. "Picking up a rock? That's what loud mercenaries do." The big guy rushed forward, yelling, "What kind of third-rate ranker are you? I'll crush you." Number 53 calmly drew his sword. In one clean motion, he blocked the incoming punch with the flat of his blade. The large attacker was knocked back, totally shocked by the counterattack. "I'm sorry," number 53 said quietly, "but I couldn't ignore the insult." The staff member crossed the attacker off the list without hesitation. Other candidates murmured to themselves, "Provoking a third-class major rank adventurer? What a stupid move. That guy was a monster." The staff member quietly noted to herself that Owl's match would likely be with Eddie. As Lo made a passing remark about how fiery she was, Luke walked up casually and asked, "Hey, what's going on?" He asked if he could pick who would fight in the next match, and she reluctantly gave him the okay. A flurry of quick scenes followed, candidates clashing hard in their mock battles, one after another. Then Luke stepped forward again and called out, "Match number 8. Number 27 and number 41, he announced. Lo and Eddie stepped forward, ready for battle. Then Luke paused for dramatic effect as the camera framed Lo and Eddie between a stranger's legs. "Number 53, Luke finally said, revealing the third participant, standing firm, sword drawn. The staff member explained, "Number 27 and 41 will be on one team. You two will be fighting number 53.
Lo stared at Luke like he was crazy. "What?" Eddie chuckled. "It's been a long time since I've been looked down on like this." The staff member looked nervous and asked Luke if he was serious, but he calmly replied, "Probably." Someone in the crowd gasped in awe. "If I'm not wrong, that guy's a monster." Number 53 stood tall, locked in a stare-down with his two opponents. The tension thickened. The staff member still looked worried, but the young girl beside her was clearly excited. Number 53's eyes were sharp as he watched the two of them prepare. Lo's background was introduced, All Darkus, leader of the Red Wolf Mercenaries. His group gained big fame last year by wiping out the 62nd-ranked Komori Mafia. Rumors even said he took down 7 of their high-ranking members, and their boss, all by himself. Then came Eddie Markman, the young heir to a famous archery family. He had been trained by his father, who was once the number 2 ranked archer. Eddie had officially registered as a ranker at the age of 5. Every archer knew his name, and his talent was undeniable. And now they were facing off against number 53, a total mystery. Just a quiet young man walking calmly with a sword in his hand. The staff member threw her hand into the air. "Begin the match!" Eddie sprang forward right away, drawing his bow and firing a sharp arrow with full force. Number 53 moved fast, swatting away Eddie's arrows with quick, clean swings of his sword. Then Lo charged in with a fierce swing, his blade slicing through the air. He aimed straight for number 53. The two swords clashed with a loud clang. Lo attacked hard, while number 53 calmly blocked his strike. Sparks flew everywhere as the blades ground against each other with heavy force. Lo and number 53 launched into a brutal back-and-forth exchange. Their swords moved so fast, they were a blur. One viewer gasped, "Hey, can you even see what's happening?" Another whispered, "I can only hear the sounds." Number 53 narrowed his eyes, laser-focused, and met Lo's latest strike with a powerful upward swing. Lo's sword flew from his hands and spun high into the air. Lo stumbled backward, completely stunned. He couldn't believe he was disarmed that fast. Before Lo could recover, number 53 jumped, his sword raised, ready to land a clean finishing blow. A close-up captures number 53's eyes, cold and focused like a predator. As he launches downward, Eddie is already locking on, firing a barrage of arrows. But in midair, number 53 deflects each one effortlessly with swift slashes of his sword. The crowd collectively gasps, some stumbling back in shock from the sheer force and speed on display. One person screams as an arrow narrowly misses them, slamming into a wall.
Number 53 lands lightly, calm and composed as Lo and Eddie regroup below him. Lo quietly admits, "That guy, he's a top-tier swordsman." Eddie, still stunned, agrees. He's never seen anyone fight like that. Number 53 asks casually if they're ranked in any other combat categories. Eddie answers first, stating his archery rank is 42nd. Lo follows with his mercenary rank, 753rd. "I see," murmurs number 53, as a soft green light begins to glow around his sword. That glow intensifies as his eyes flash with the same vivid green hue. A heavy surge of energy explodes outward as number 53 says, "If I beat you too, I'll definitely hit triple digits." The entire arena glows with the force of his prana, leaving the spectators in awe. Eddie stares at him, lost for words at the overwhelming display. Lo steps back, eyes wide, whispering, "What's going on? The sky feels heavy. That aura is terrifying." A young girl watching gasps, "That's prana, and there's so much of it. I can see the color with my eyes."
Eddie, frustrated, fires back. Rankings aren't just about job titles. He confirms his 42nd archery rank again, but also adds that he's tested separately for sniper ranking, focusing on precision. A zoom on Eddie's determined eye reveals the number 78th in sniper rank. He fires an arrow straight toward number 53. A glowing reticle locks on in his vision. But number 53 calmly sidesteps. The arrow whizzes past him without even grazing his coat. Eddie loses balance and falls back. Lo stands firm, gripping his sword. Behind him, Eddie is already down, groaning. Lo mutters while staring at number 53, who's still standing there, cloaked in that bright green energy. Now it's just the two swordsmen. Their auras clash, one burning with focus, the other bracing for impact. Then number 53 bolts forward, faster than the eye can follow. His sword slices through the air, stopping right at Lo's throat. Caught completely off guard, Lo shouts, "Wait!" and drops his weapon immediately, hands raised. "I surrender," he says. "I've got work after this. I can't be knocked out like that guy." Number 53 stares at him silently, then slowly lowers his sword. "I see," he murmurs. Lo gulps, soaked in sweat. What is this guy? He thinks, terrified. He's a total monster. One viewer gasps loudly, "Unbelievable!" Another yells, "He beat ranked fighters, 3-digit rankers." The woman who had announced the match finally steps forward. "That's enough. The winner is number 53. She glances to the side and notices Luke, who's already slipping away. "Luke, where are you going?" she asks. Meanwhile, Luke rushes into a packed tech room, quickly typing into a glowing terminal. The appraiser-only database loads, full of ranker records. Luke types in the ID and pulls up number 53's profile. The screen flashes the name, Lo Tully. 17 years old, no previous rank, no crimes, no special family background. "Jackpot," Luke whispers, his eyes sparkling. He bolts from the room, running outside and shouting, "Lo Tully, be my exclusive appraiser partner!" But Lo is already surrounded. Other appraisers got there first. Luke freezes in place, stunned. "No way! I was too slow!" He storms forward and scolds the crowd. "You're not supposed to offer exclusives without checking their record first." Lo Tully looks around, totally confused. "What's an exclusive appraiser?" he asks. Luke steps in front of him and smiles confidently. "I'll explain it to you." He explains that an exclusive appraiser is someone assigned to a single ranker, tracking their growth and updating their rank consistently. Normally, rank updates take time because you have to go through the main appraisal office. But with an exclusive appraiser, Luke winks, you can update your ranking right away, anytime. He then pulls out a shiny red gadget from his pocket and holds it up. "This is a rank tell," he says proudly. Luke leans in and tells Lo Tully, "If you want to climb fast, you need an exclusive appraiser." Lo Tully thinks to himself, "If I want to climb the adventure rankings quickly, I'll need to set one condition." He turns to Luke and asks, "Is there anyone here who can get me into the top 10 of the adventure ranking?" His bold demand stuns Luke and the other appraisers. Lo repeats himself to the silent crowd. "There's one condition.
Is there anyone here who can do that? His eyes scans all of them, challenging. Who here can help me reach the top 10 of the adventure ranking? Appraisers whisper among themselves, doubting such a wild request. Top 10? That's filled with monsters. Sword skills alone won't cut it. Lo listens silently, showing no emotion as they speak their doubts.
Luke's eyes widen. He's clearly overwhelmed by the scale of the goal, but something sparks inside him. As Lo turns to leave, Luke suddenly shouts, "Wait!" and pushes through the other appraisers to follow. Down a long path toward a large building, Luke chases after Lo, calling out again, "Lo!" He finally catches up, breathing hard, and asks, "Why do you want to get into the adventure rankings top 10? Lo answers coldly, "That's none of your business," with the town in the background behind him. Luke clenches his fists and declares, "Then I'll make it my business." He steps up and confidently says, "I'll be your exclusive appraiser. I'll help you get to the top 10 of the adventure rankings." Lo looks at Luke but flatly replies, "I'm not hiring you. I don't want to get others involved." Luke, frustrated, grunts quietly but doesn't give up. Lo adds in a low voice, "Even if you weren't a kid, I wouldn't hire anyone." Luke's frustration grows, but his determination doesn't waver. Then, out of nowhere, Luke shouts from deep within, "I have something I need to do, a mission I'd give my life for." He then pleads, "And for that, I want to work with you, Lo." Lo Tully stops and turns, surprised by the strength in Luke's voice. Luke stands tall, determination glowing behind him. At that moment, Lo recalls his vow clearly in his mind. "I'm going to that island. I'll bring everyone back." His eyes reflect a deep, unwavering resolve. In front of the massive building, Luke looks at Lo and says, "Lucelia, I'll help you get to the top." Lo finally responds, "I'm Lo Tully." They shake hands, firm and resolute under the bright sun. A new partnership begins. As night falls, we see a cozy little house lit from inside. This will be their new base. Luke is excited, showing Lo around the snug place they've rented for their activities. Lo, observing everything, acknowledges Luke's efforts. "You're good at what you do." Later, Luke falls asleep happily on a bed, but grumbles as he remembers Lo's condition, 1 week of probation. Muttering in a mock-serious voice, Luke imitates Lo. "I'll prove my worth." He's visibly annoyed that Lo didn't just say yes. Lo casually says, "That would be nice," which only annoys Luke more. "You're insanely strong," Luke says, "but otherwise you're kind of spaced out." Lo admits with a chuckle, "Yeah, I hear that a lot." Luke fumbles for his rank tell and suddenly announces, "Your test results are ready." He flips the device around. The rank tell screen lights up, showing Lo Tully's adventure rank 2728. Luke cheers, "Congrats on passing! Hitting the 2000s on your first try is amazing." But Lo frowns, disappointed. "I was expecting to be in the triple digits." Luke quickly points out, "Your opponents were ranked 102nd and 753rd, trying to calm him down. He reminds Lo how massive and competitive the adventure rankings are. It's tough to rise fast. Then Luke checks another stat and exclaims, "Hey, your sword speed ranking came in at 58th. He adds proudly, "That's a big deal. That number proves real skill." Lo, still doubtful, asks, "Do the other 2 guys I fought have different rankings like that too?" Luke flips through the rank tell again. Al Darkus's profile pops up, showing several high ranks across various fields. Then Eddie Markman's stats appear, which surprisingly include a rank of 19th in mushroom farming. Luke grins and tells Lo, "You can join multiple rankings." Luke suggested, "That way it'll be easier for you to get more work." Then, thinking aloud, he added, "So I think you should register under multiple rankings too." But Lo replied quickly, "I'm not looking for work." Watching him from the window, Luke commented, "So basically your goal is to reach the top 10 of the adventure ranking as fast as possible." Then, with a knowing grin, he added, "And you're aiming for the Island of the Gods, right?" Lo was startled. "How did you know?" he asked. Luke explained, "It's a secret only available to those in the top 10. After thinking for a moment, Lo gave a simple reply, "Sure." Then Luke offered, "In that case, I'll tell you my story too. That's fair, right?" He added that his situation was a bit complicated for someone who was new to the ranking world.
With a serious look in his eyes, Luke revealed dramatically, "What I'm chasing is the darkness of the rankings." Lo blinked. "What?" But Luke immediately brushed it off. Never mind. From the balcony, Luke changed the subject. "By the way, how did you get that strong, especially with your sword?" Lo casually answered, "A year ago, I trained under a knight named Adol." That shocked Luke. "Adol?" he shouted, grabbing Lo by the shoulders. "You mean the #1 ranked knight?" Lo nodded without much emotion, which only made Luke even more surprised. Lo didn't seem impressed by his own achievement at all. Still reeling, Luke pulled up Adol's profile. "He's famous for rejecting every student who tried to learn under him," he exclaimed. That made Lo's training with Adol even more unbelievable. Luke continued. "Adol was looking for a successor. Knights everywhere fought for that chance. He said that others would faint if they found out Lo might inherit Adol's title." Lo asked, "Is Adol really that famous?" Luke nodded. "He's known as the strongest knight humanity has." Lo then dropped another bombshell. "I beat him in a sword fight." Luke's face froze. He was utterly stunned. "You beat Adol?" he muttered in disbelief, overwhelmed by how casually Lo had said it. He reopened the rank tell and examined Lo's info again. He noticed that the name Tully was a fresh entry in the system. Suspicion crept into Luke's eyes. "Tully? Is that an alias?" he asked. Lo tilted his head, confused. "What's a surname?" Luke paused, thinking maybe it was a cultural difference. A flashback revealed that Adol had once told Lo, "Use the name Lo Tully if you want to reach the Island of the Gods fastest." Adol had explained that gaining recognition might lead to clues about his goal. Lo had understood clearly and replied with resolve, "I understand," as they stood near a wide, sunlit crater. Back in the present, Luke realized, so it's not a fake name. Lo clenched his fist. "Tully is the name of my precious family." Luke nodded gently. "Got it, thanks for sharing." Then, stretching, Luke said, "All right, let's call it a day." He reached for his hat. "Time to take this off." Lo looked at him and froze. As the hat came off, long blue hair spilled out. Shocked, Lo stared. "You're a woman?" Luke was startled. "Wait, you just noticed?" Lo looked away, sheepishly. "Sorry." Pouting, Luke grabbed her hat. "Is sorry all I get?" The scene shifted to the outside view of their place under a calm night sky. Morning came. A horse-drawn carriage passed along a sunlit town street. Inside, Luke was relaxing with a newspaper, golden sunlight filling the room. Lo came down the stairs, and Luke greeted him. "You're up early, Lo." Lo stared at her for a moment. Luke blinked. "Huh?" "I'm just getting water," Lo said, brushing it off. "It's nothing. Good morning." Luke smiled, tying her hair. "Let's grab breakfast." Putting a hand on her hat, she added with a wink, "It's going to be a long journey, but today's the start." Then she declared, "All right, let's have our strategy meeting, our first step toward cracking the top 10 of the adventure rankings." At a cafe outside, Luke began explaining how to raise your adventure ranking. "You'll need solid adventure achievements," she said, taking a bite of her sandwich. She continued, "Land development or exploration, that's the basic stuff." Luke recommended, "For now, you should take on requests." As Lo ate, he listened while Luke explained that requests give rewards and are great for beginners. Pulling out her rank tell, she continued, "You can get requests from the Accreditation Bureau or the Guild Union, but with me, you get access to all of them through this." Lo commented that the rank tell was really convenient, and Luke began to daydream about becoming an exclusive accreditation officer. Lo asked if there were any requests that would help him quickly increase his rank. Luke replied that he just needed to go for the high difficulty ones. She showed him a list of dangerous missions, and without hesitation, Lo picked the one right at the top. Luke slammed the table and yelled, "This is impossible for you right now. You seriously can't take this." Lo quietly repeated, "You won't know unless you try." Luke tried the reason, "As an accreditation officer, I'm telling you it's too hard. You'll die." Lo responded calmly, "Even so, I still want to try." Then he asked about the danger ranking of the Island of the Gods. His eyes locked with focus. He said, "I can't give up here." Luke, flustered, thought, "He's more stubborn than I thought. I've got to find a way to stop him."
Just then, a stylish man strolled up to their table and asked smoothly, "Is something troubling you two?" Luke turned in surprise. "Mr. L," she exclaimed, greeting him. "It's been a while, Luke," he replied. Lo watched as Luke introduced the man, saying, "This is L. Broward." She revealed that he was an incredibly powerful adventurer, ranked 11th. Lo's gaze sharpened. Rank 11, just one step away from the top 10. He remembered Adol's warning, top-ranked adventurers are monsters, and this man was clearly one of them. Luke looked up at L. Broward, the top-ranked adventurer who now stood before them with such ease. Lo realized it. L was just one rank away from the Island of the Gods. Thinking quickly, Luke pointed at Lo and shouted with energy, "Lo, fight him! Beat him up!" The scene shifted to a vast, empty arena where Lo and L stood face to face. As they faced each other, L commented that he was surprised Lo accepted the duel. Lo admitted he hadn't expected this either. L said he'd borrowed a spear for the fight. It felt a bit light, but it would do. Lo, serious, replied he was ready. L told him, "You can speak casually. In the adventure rankings, manners don't matter." Luke proudly said, L updated her ranking before, and exclaimed that Luke was amazing. Elle remembered how much Luke cared about ranking accuracy and how vast her knowledge was. Blushing, Luke admitted she'd do anything to help with Elle's requests. Then Elle told Lo, "She asked me to knock some sense into a stubborn rookie. She really cares about you." Lo's eyes narrowed. He could feel it. Elle's immense power just from being near him. A fiery aura burned around Elle's body. He lifted his spear. The pressure was intense. Luke cried out, her voice filled with worry, "Lo!" She shouted that this was a great chance. The world is massive. Just once, feel it. Lo heard her words, his face unreadable. The vastness of the world. Huh? Then he murmured, "I already know." A flash of immense destruction and vibrant green energy filled his mind as he recalled his past. With resolve, Lo stood tall. The arena display lit up. L. Broward, rank 11, versus Lo Tully, rank 27-28. Luke raised her hand high and shouted, "Begin!" Their weapons clashed immediately, Elle's spear and Lo's glowing green sword locking with a screech of steel. Lo's eyes sharpened as his blade flared with green energy. With a powerful slash, his prana-infused sword ripped through the ground. Elle quickly jumped back, analyzing Lo's movement. He noticed how Lo used prana to boost his blade and body. As he blocked another strike, Elle thought something was familiar. That technique, it looked like the style of the legendary Sword Saint, a secret sword art taught to only one successor per generation.
Lo didn't give him time to think. His non-stop assault forced Elle to focus. Then, with perfect timing, Lo's blade broke through and struck him directly. Despite the hit, Elle stood firm. I'm still pretty relaxed," he said calmly. Lo pushed harder, delivering another green energy attack, but Elle dodged by leaping backward with grace. Steel rang out again as the fight intensified, sparks flying with every strike. Elle observed Lo's vibrant aura and admitted in his mind, "Just by looking at his prana, he has more than me." Elle shimmered as he leapt back to create distance, landing softly while Lo stayed firm on the ground, his powerful green aura steady and unbroken. Curious, Elle asked directly, "Which tribe are you from?" catching Lo off guard. Still wrapped in his glowing prana, looked confused and echoed, "Tribe?" With a sly grin, Elle replied, "Acting dumb won't fool me." He clarified that this kind of prana couldn't be gained through training alone. It had to be something you were born with. But brushing aside his own question, Elle let it go. "Whatever," he said, then dug his spear into the arena floor with force, cracking the stone beneath them. "Anyway," Elle continued, holding his weapon firmly, "you can use arts too, right?" Lo, sweat forming at his temple, looked even more puzzled. "Arts?" he murmured. Elle's eyes began to glow as he started chanting a technique. "The galloping horse that crosses many mountains seeks breath." Lo stared in disbelief as 10 massive golden blades began forming around him, surrounded by a shining golden aura. The chant continued, showing visions of swords and flowing water.
Finding peace at the water's edge, it turns its hooves. As countless golden swords took shape around him, El shouted out with pride and leapt into the air, completely surrounded by this storm of energy. He declared, "This is the spear art of the Broward tribe, spear arts Zen." His eyes gleamed as he warned, "You better use your own arts, or else." Luke watched anxiously from the side. "You'll die," El finished coldly. Lo steadied himself, tightly gripping his sword, preparing to face the tremendous pressure radiating from El. El adjusted his glasses, his golden eyes locked on Lo with a sharp challenge in his stare. Lo, breathing heavily, sweat dripping down, muttered in disbelief as the golden light pulsed stronger. Without warning, El swept his spear forward, sending all the golden blades flying toward Lo in a barrage. Looking up at the attack, Lo was overwhelmed by the raining projectiles. He swung his glowing green sword with urgency, deflecting some of them. But one of the blades slashed his leg, drawing blood as he winced in pain. El watched calmly and commented, "That won't be enough. A regular sword can't handle this technique." He prepared another round of the golden sword barrage. Lo was now completely surrounded, glowing swords spinning in every direction. He fought back with all he had, his green prana clashing wildly against the swirling storm of golden blades. As the wave subsided, El stood composed with his spear still raised, while Lo staggered back, injured but still determined. A memory surfaced in Lo's mind, his master's voice. "Your prana control is still rough." A flashback showed a younger Lo training hard. His stern-faced teacher told him, "Once you master it, you'll start learning techniques." The young Lo had asked, "Techniques?" watching in awe as his master's sword flared with red energy. "Watch closely," the master had instructed, showing a basic technique with a crimson glowing blade. Back in the present, Lo focused, and his sword suddenly burst with vibrant green prana. Then, with everything he had, he released a gale slash, a giant wave of swirling green energy shooting forward like a storm. El looked up as the enormous force headed toward him. He acknowledged, "That's fast." Steadying himself, El gripped his spear, golden sword still orbiting around him. Lo's energy slash crashed forward, but El calmly lifted his hand. In a blink, his spear moved like a streak of gold, meeting the green wave head-on. The impact exploded in light, a dazzling clash of power. El admitted, "That was a supersonic slash, too fast to see." But he didn't back down. He firmed his stance, still resisting. Lo, breathing hard, kept blocking the golden sword attacks flying at him. Each deflection flared more of his green aura. Another golden spear-shaped blade shot toward him, hitting hard and sending Lo flying across the field, his body twisting midair. Crashing down, Lo gritted his teeth while El remained surrounded by the shimmering golden swords. "Not bad," El said, impressed. But with a snap of his fingers, he added, "Still, the wall is high." Luke gasped in horror as a cage of glowing golden light formed around Lo, tiny and impossible to avoid, dozens of golden swords closing in. Lo looked up, eyes wide with fear, sensing what was coming. El's gaze shone as he warned coldly, "Never underestimate the adventurer rankings." Then, in an instant, a blinding cascade of golden swords rained down with terrifying force. "Damn it!" Lo shouted, just before the entire arena was swallowed in a massive explosion of light and shattered stone. When the dust cleared, Lo lay broken in the middle of a crater, golden spears stuck in the ground around him like gravestones. El stood tall above him, victorious. Lo, bruised and beaten, looked up weakly while El stared down at him without emotion. It was clear El Broward, ranked 11th among adventurers, had won decisively. Luke stepped forward, walking up to El and asking, "Satisfied?" El responded politely, "Yes, thank you." Luke quietly noted that Lo must have understood it now, while El complimented what Luke had said earlier. As they both looked at the unconscious boy, Luke said softly to El, "You still believed that he'd win, didn't you?" Luke admitted with a faint voice, I just thought maybe he could. Elle, sharp as ever, asked, "Is it because he's Adele's disciple?" Luke was taken aback. "You noticed?" Elle explained he figured it out the moment he saw that incredibly fast slash. It was a Sword Saint move. He reflected that the Sword Saint style is a rare legacy, passed down only through generations of elite knights. But Elle added that a mere adventurer using such a revered knight technique would be seen by many as theft, a dangerous offense. Luke nodded worriedly. Elle warned that if knight rankers found out, Lo could be in serious danger. Elle then mused aloud that if Lo had been a knight ranker, the situation might be very different. Luke looked down, lost in thought. A memory came to her, Lo's firm declaration. "There's something I absolutely have to do." She turned to Elle. "But that's not the reason I believed in him," she said. "It wasn't just because of the Sword Saint style." Luke explained, "I believed because I heard he landed a clean hit on your son." That caught Elle completely off guard. Looking over at the unconscious Lo, Elle said it shouldn't have been possible, not with Lo's current level. But Luke insisted, "Lo isn't a liar." Elle looked deep in thought. There had to be something more. He admitted that seeing the Sword Saint technique had been surprising, but it was Lo's intense green prana, that shimmering energy, that shocked him even more. Luke called out, "Mr. L." As Elle's eyes rested on his spear lying on the cracked ground, he slowly picked it up and stared at it. His tone serious now, Elle said quietly, "That boy, he probably has a technique too." Elle's eyes narrowed, his voice low with realization. "If he had used it, I might have lost."